Hello, I'm Richard Keogh and I'll be presenting this monthly blog called City Courtyard Garden. So what's the plan? Well, the plan is that we're going to film an episode every month explaining what has happened with the gardens. I say gardens with a plural because not only do I intend to do this courtyard garden, but I also have a courtyard garden. My one is not quite as good as this, I must confess, and in some ways it's a sort of a motivation to get things going. It's October now, and so we'll be heading into November. Not a lot will happen in November, I don't suppose, but there'll be jobs to do, and I'll be explaining what sort of jobs I will be doing around the garden, mostly clearing up and planting ready for next year. Some of it will be done for this month. So with no more ado, I'll carry on with the programme and explain what I'm doing. Here in the corner we have Virginias, sometimes called elephant's ears. They were over here, spreading like anything, but now we have some wallflowers, but now we've contained it to a small area here. Just over here though, some have survived, and if we don't cut them the back they'll be spreading like crazy. Now we're getting towards the end of October. The Michaelmas daisies have passed their best. Here's another plant that tends to spread like anything. In this part of the garden, it's fine. It makes a lovely piece of colour towards the end of the year. And this is a square foot garden. And let me explain what a square foot garden is. Now, this is a square foot garden, which means it is 4 foot wide and 4 foot long. Which means we've got 1 foot squares making 16 cells, 4 by 4. And so far, we've had a very productive year. And over here we've got Swiss chard. And the rest of it are leeks. We have had strawberries in here, and the thing about strawberries is once you've had a strawberry, and like potatoes, they don't always go away. So you might even see evidence of strawberry in between once in a while. But at the end of the year we'll be pulling out some of these leeks. Certainly that chard will be coming out. And we'll be thinking about planning for the next year. There's a very, very, very concise, very compact way of growing your vegetables, provided you manage it well. I'm not too sure if we do. This has been a success this year, I think. Now it's come to the end of the season. This runner bean we've allowed to grow on with the intention of collecting the beans. So we've got some pods here. If I just pull this pod open and open it up and see if we've got any decent seeds. Here we go. There's a beautiful brown seeds here. That's a slightly different colour from the ones that we've already had, but they look good. So we'll collect those and we'll try next year and plant these to see if they grow or not. right by the square foot garden is the espalier pear tree, which unfortunately was not a good sprouter this year, owing to the late spring probably, and the blossom wasn't fertilised at all, so it didn't turn into fruit. But generally speaking, for the last 3 or 4 years it's been a massive fruiter. If we take a closer look at the bark of this, you can see it's quite an old tree, and it's quite old and gnarled, the bark, so we reckon possibly 60 years or thereabouts. Maybe this is the centre point of the garden, the patio. As you can see, even in October it's quite a colourful area. It's a great place to put small plants and decorate the outside. Infrequently used for sitting out on, and it's a good place to start planting up for the winter. Here we have a selection of heathers, for example. As you can see, we have a small bay tree. In the background there is a lily which flowers for a very short period of time in July. Now look at that! A milk bottle full of goodness. Now where do we get that from? Well, I'll give you a quick clue. Worms. Got those from worms. This is a big bottle of worm tea, and this is what happens. And this is the apparatus that makes the worm tea. Essentially, it is a beer making bucket. Now I've got an upturned basin up down the bottom there that creates a sort of reservoir, and a hole in the side of the reservoir which leads to a tap, and in turn goes to this milk bottle down here. Now all you need is a little bit of kitchen waste and a few healthy red looking worms, which I'll go looking for in a minute. Now as you can see, I've just recently emptied it, so it's quite empty, so it needs to be started again. So this is what we'll do. We'll look for some red worms, and we'll put some garden waste in, no, not garden waste, some kitchen waste, and start the wormery off again. What we need now is some nice friendly red worms. So we'll go on a little worm hunt, and I think I know exactly where to find them. Right, it is places like these where you can find all sorts of detritus and nasty stuff, and that's the stuff that we need. Now if I'm to move some bins away, maybe I'll find some of the worms I need. Great stuff. Let's have a closer look. Let's see what we can find here. My word. Well, that's actually, well, they are all a sort of a reddy colour. They've got a bit dirty here, but that's fine. So we'll just carefully scoop these critters up if we possibly can. And there you have it, some friendly worms. Just what you need. Oh, someone's got a raging motor in there. That's really spoiling the soundtrack. Okay, so we've got our worms hidden in here. So what we've got to do is just put that in and introduce the worms to the... Oops, one or two there. And I'm sure they'll be... Oh, look at that beauty. Yes, that's lovely. And they will make themselves a new home. All that kitchen waste into rich worm tea. Not very active, are they? Oh, there he goes. Slowly slithering in. Oh yeah, oh yeah, get some of that. Okay, we'll leave them to it. One thing I've noticed, I'll pop the lid on this, but a slight oversight on my part. You'll notice I've got holes in the top here. Great, they need holes, but unfortunately they don't need to be drowned. Unfortunately that's where the water collects, pours in through, and I get excessive tea at the bottom. It's not the pure stuff. So what I have done to alleviate the problem, if I can only find it here, there it is, I have an upturned bowl I put over the top, which allows the water and the air in, but not the water. So that's a cover, and there we go. That's our wormery set off for another season. Hopefully the cold weather won't kill them off.